What is counterculture today in today's climate? What do you think counterculture is?
I don't know if it exists. Like, it's still there, but it's really small. And the turnover from counterculture to mainstream culture, like, here's how I look at it, right? There's like, counterculture is when it's real, right? So like, imagine there's 3 levels to it. There's when it's real and it actually exists and no one's messing with it. Some people, counterculture is usually shunned at first. People, they push back against it, right? They don't understand it. Podcasting at one point in some way was counterculture. Mm-hmm. People are doing it and people don't really get it. And then there's a level of it. The biggest chapter of that is commerce. So the thing that comes next is people figure it out, the people assign a dollar value to it, they put a barcode on it. That's when counterculture is no longer counterculture, it's mainstream culture. And then the last level of it, the level you really want to be in, and hopefully you've been in it since counterculture, is, I don't have a name for it, I just call it museum level. Because like once everyone's taken every dollar out of it, the next level is the people who were there and know the essence, you can come back around and get to museum level. And a lot of things that were in counterculture are now at museum level, graffiti, hip hop, black culture, internet culture. Everyone's starting to see the evolution of it. But counterculture is hard today because some could pop on Tuesday, and by Wednesday,
it's a dub.
Yeah, it's over. And that's different because I'm sort of in that in between. Like I remember analog and then digital. I remember discovering things and feeling like I was the only one who knew about it. And now you like, when's the last time you saw a video on YouTube that had 100 views? Like
yesterday.
Yeah.
And that means you know.
I mean, our videos at one point had 100 views.
Yeah.
And I feel like.
And then it gets bigger and it's no longer counterculture, which is good. But it comes with a different set of hurdles and problems, you know?
Definitely.
Oh, we know.
Definitely.
Yeah, we definitely know.
So, when I watch State of the Culture, you know, you pretty much do it all. But, you know, you're so well spoken, sometimes you kind of come off as like a smart brother. You know what I'm saying?
Smart
you know what I mean?
An educated brother from the back.
Do you feel like that? Do you feel like there's a side of you or a side of your game that doesn't necessarily get shown on the show?
I mean, there's a whole bunch of things.
Don't jinx, don't feel any pressure. Hint, wink, wink.
It's funny because Joe has the face on too right now. But you know what it is? It's like, I guess it's smart brother or whatever, but like, and I've heard that like my whole life, you know what I mean? That's just like, I don't know, I didn't even know what my voice sounded like, so I started doing video. You know, like even now, in my head, it sounds like Cameron, but in real life, it sounds like Jeff Bezos, you know? Like, this is what I have, you know? These are the tools that I've got. But yeah, I get that sometimes, and sometimes it's always been a double-edged sword, right? So like, you be in school, and I remember being in school and teachers saying, wow, you're so well-spoken. And I went home and told my mom, she's like, what's that mean? Right? Because she's like, is that, are you an anomaly? In her,
a white person, that's different.
Yeah, well, but
you know,
a lot of people share those, a lot of people have those white mentalities in them, you know? And not even generalizing white folk, but they have that sort of like, they got that plantation mentality of what we're supposed to be and what we're not supposed to be. So I get it, like I understand. But again, this is like the thing I can't change is my voice. So luckily it's been the thing I just roll with. But yeah, I get that it's smart brother. That's the worst thing I get. I'm not doing so bad.
I don't think it's a bad thing.
Yeah. But I mean, it's just.
I come off as the smart brother on our show.
You need to read the comments.
I have zero opinion on this, but smart brother. But yeah, you know what I look at it is like, if there's elements to me, you know what's interesting about the show is that we all have our own personality types, our own corners of the culture, and I think that that's valid, right? Like, I like the idea that someone, like when I was at Complex, I was culture, you know? Joe's doing his podcast, he's culture. You know, Remy's doing her thing, she's culture. And then you put us all together and people are now trying to figure out what's culture. And it's like, no, we're all of it. This is a Venn diagram. So we all have our own circles. The middle is where we meet, that's state of the culture. It's in the name. And then the overlap of what you see, the space that isn't as dark, the space that's just us. So those elements creep through naturally, right? Like in the way that we talk or the way that we dress or the side comments and jokes that we make. And you can see it line up with certain people where they agree. And it's funny because when I first sat down in the show, just how the show was initially set up with the 2 chairs and 2 chairs, you think you're naturally, like I thought I was naturally gonna get along with Scotty, who was my co-host at the time, but we differed on opinions. And then I was like, yo, I'm rocking with Remy, even though she kind of accused me of being a Republican, but like, all right, and now here we go. And then the part that people don't get to see is like Joe make a joke, and I'm like, yo, I'm glad no one heard that, cause like, it's funny, but they don't love me like they love you. That might be the end of me. But like we line up on certain ways, and so that's set right there. And then there's all the people you don't see, right? Like you see that little screen right there, and that's who you see. But there's so many people behind it, their culture. So like, yeah, there's pieces of me you don't see, but that's the compromise. That's the Venn diagram.
So I want to tie in the discussion we had with counterculture as well with state of the culture, right? You're in a more position where everyone on the team is very critical with their opinions and thoughts when it comes to specific topics. But cancel culture is very, very rampant right now. And do you ever, it's a two-part question, right? Is cancel culture part of counterculture? And also, does that make you be more aware of how critical you are in terms of speaking on certain things? Or are you at a point now where you're just like, forget it, I'm gonna speak on what's important, I'm gonna say what's important, and if people are gonna try and cancel me, it's whatever. Because there have been several times where you guys said stuff on, say, the culture, and people didn't like, and then it just went off on Twitter.
Really?
Yeah.
No, I'm just playing, I know that. The first part is cancel culture is mainstream culture, and that's probably why it doesn't work. I'm not saying that people who they really got canceled, they think they're not canceled, they're canceled. But yeah, as far as like holding back things, yeah, sometimes, because also everything ain't meant for, you know, I like being a mystery or whatever, like everything ain't meant for everybody, right? Like I might crack a joke with you or you or you, and that's just between us. And what we're experiencing now is like the lack of context, right? So like some things are funny, but when you with this person, right? And some things aren't funny when you bring in other people. When you put everything on a public stage, you don't get to control who gets in and who gets out. And some things are an issue, right? No matter who hears them. And so I think you need to be, I think cancel culture doesn't do a good job of actually addressing the issue. It just says, we don't like this person, we want to stop them. And I don't know if you really stop anybody, you just express your dislike. And some people don't even think of what they want to do after they're upset. They're like, what's the initiative? What's the movement? What are you going to do? But yeah, there's definitely things I don't say because like they're funny in my group chats and not so funny when I don't. Like, if I'm in a group chat with all y'all and we all think something's funny, we come with the context and our history of our friendship. Then that slips out. Well, I don't know how to explain 20 years of friendship to y'all and why I should probably keep my job right now. You know what I mean? It's just real. Like, and I think if you don't admit that, you're lying to yourself and you're probably setting yourself up to be canceled. But the status of cancel culture, I don't know if it's truly helpful right now. I don't think it's a problem necessarily. I think it's the first step. I think we need to focus on what comes next. It's like, all right, the buses is treating us like shit. We gonna get off the bus. Like, the bus is treating us like shit. What comes next? Get off the bus. You think that was a one-day tweet? Nah, there's people still riding the bus. And someone else was like, yo, bro, get off the bus. And some people you threaten, some people you persuade, some people you request. And I'd like to assume that there's some people still riding the bus. But like the impact was felt. And so like, that's what cancel culture, I think it needs another step. What that is, I don't know. If I figure it out, I'll let everybody know, but it has to come next.
You brought up riding the bus. That could be metaphorical in terms of success. And we all are constantly riding towards the end point of where we want to go. Do you feel like you're still on that ride? Do you still feel like that's cancel culture. Do you feel like you're still on that ride? And even like in some sense, do you still feel like you're an underdog in this industry?
I think everybody probably feels like they're underdog, because otherwise how else would you keep going? But I made in my mind there's no destination, right? It's just checkpoints. Because every time I thought there was a destination, it wasn't. Or like, I remember talking to this dude Brock. I was interviewing him years ago. He's an A&R in the industry, and we were talking. We had this interview that went way long past the interview. And it was when I was at Decon moonlighting in Mass Appeal, and I'd interviewed him so long that I'd given him so much about myself. He was like, "Oh, I know who you are. You're gonna be the dude who hits a point that you want, and you're so worried about the next point that you go through that point and don't even realize it." And that's happened to me multiple times where I get somewhere and I thought I'd feel this great feeling, but I'm in tomorrow. So there is no destination. I don't think that's true for anything. It's like if you care so much about the destination, you're gonna miss the journey, and you're also gonna forget what comes next. Like, it's like people who, what's an example? like people who plan a wedding and don't think about the marriage. Like the wedding's just one night. You know what I'm saying? It's just a party, right? Like the next thing is like, oh, we got years to figure this out.
That was a bar.
But it happens all the time. And I think people get into this space and they to them the wedding is their Instagram post or their business card or going up to the door at a club and saying where they work as if like you don't care. And what comes next? And the problem is there's no gate to figure out who's who and who's what. So we got a lot of people pretending, a lot of people posing, and then they dilute the space because like y'all really do it. What happens when someone else doesn't really do it and they get to call themselves the same thing you all call yourselves? Does that you enhance them and they bring you down? So like, and the industry is rampant with that. Like it's like never before because the barriers to entry are lower. It don't cost nothing to go and start doing something. You can go get on and start doing videos. You can. If you wanted to make an album before, you had to make the dedication just to save the money to go to the studio. And then if you went to the studio and saw how much it cost you the first time, you go back like, damn, my shit is so bad. I got to get so nice to make my money worthwhile. Now you just turn on your computer and start going, and the results they show. Like most of the stuff is weak. It's cool because it democratizes the space, but a lot of it is not good.
Watered down.
Not even watered down. It's just actual garbage. Like you know, and no one wants to hear that either. Like no one wants to hear that what they're doing isn't good. And the barrier entry is when you tell someone it isn't good, that it's not a destination, it's just a checkpoint. Will they keep going? And most people don't.
So how do we rectify that situation? How do we make a bar where there is no bar?
I think the bar is to just be really good at what you do and get to the point where people don't even talk about you in the same lane as everybody else. I think you had asked if I thought I was an underdog, and I was like, yeah, I feel like that sometimes. But like, I'm just trying to get so far up there that like, you can't talk about me with the little bros, you know? Like, I want to be over here. Or even, I want to be museum culture where I've got the essence of counterculture, but I'm over there, and like, I'm in a league of people, like I'm on the wall with all the other, with the classics and the new stuff and the contemporaries, and like, you got to pay just to get in, you know? Like, I want to be in that space.
Now, is that you having some sort of self-drive, or are you putting stock in what other people think as in fans?
That's a good question.
That's both. Like,
Well, wait, hold on, because that's actually a really good question. When doing that, right, with stock and just people, because we're all in the business of people pleasing, right? How much does that pay or really play into how you maneuver every day?
So this is like strong. What you say?
So when maneuvering, just in life, right? How much stock do you put into other people's opinion? Because you are a content creator that has to create content for people. At what point do you cut that off and just say no?
I'm both. Like, I think anyone says they're not, the ones who say they're not are really good at what they do. I don't know, I'm also like an angry content creator. Like, I'm like, man, like F everybody, like I want to do me. I feel like, not even underdog, but I feel like still counterculture in my mind, and unchampioned. Like, it's like, when everybody's screaming about Banksy, I'm like, man, look at this dude over here, like he's killing it. Like I live in that space in my mind mentally. I care about what people think sometimes, but every opinion is not created equal. You know, like there's people that, even in the state of the culture, there's people that I know, you can read the comments and know who they arrived for, right? But I do like the part of like, I like winning people over. You know, I like people that were like, there's always that comment like, or when I see people in real life, they're like, yo, what's up, blah, 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 like, yo, bro, yo, you cool. And it's not like, it's like they realized it, like, oh, I thought you wasn't cool. And then part of me is like, I like winning people over, and part of me is like, fuck you. You know, really, just because like, sorry, there's a child here.
It's okay.
This is the world, I'm sorry.
He's heard worse.
Was that Henny?
But, yeah, I don't really know. I had a crazy morning. But yeah, like, you know, you can't, it's like, I'm on the court. I'm here to play, and I want to play because I'm passionate about the game. And like the fans help make it good, but also like if they were booing, I'd still be on the court. So like I can't get too worried about that. Like if you look to the crowd after you shoot, but if you look to the crowd while you're dribbling the rock, like you're probably not gonna make the play, so they
Wait.
can't be a part of the process.
Wait, I don't mean to cut you off, but I heard you say boo, and it made me think about Drake, when Drake got booed off, essentially.
Yeah.
Well, did he get booed off, or did they just boo because of the expectation of having Frank Ocean that they wanted, and he wasn't there? But let's talk about that, right? You talked about how there are people that come into the comments section.
Let's give them some context.
Oh,
Right.
yes, so if you guys don't know, in a recent festival, Drake went on stage, the fans booed, they got really upset because they thought that Frank Ocean was gonna go there, but there was no information out there hinting that Frank Ocean was gonna actually be on that stage, or that Tyler, the creator, was gonna bring him up. It went into a whole little spiel. Drake was just like, oh, you want me to continue playing? They kept booing, and he's just like, all right, he left. And they were just saying that he got booed off stage, but then Drake ended up putting out on Instagram, he was like, I'm still locked in for quite some time, and I'm still getting paid, so it's all right. We all know how Drake is. He gonna be here for a while. So, we saw that, right? Then we saw Summer Walker.
Yeah.
Summer Walker was another one where she had an anti-social moment with fans, and they were really upset about that. But then we've also seen the latter, where we've seen people like Kanye West, where his rooted fans from, like how I did that?
I see.
I did that, right? His fans from back in the day, even till now, Wilson's part of that, they were a little upset about how he was talking about the MAGA hat and how he wanted to change the MAGA hat and etc. And how he even switched up his fans, and now he's doing non-secular music. And even with the non-secular music, he is still doing well because he's charting. So those are kind of like the juxtaposition and like these two differing aspects when it comes to fans and how they interact with artists. Now, the biggest question is, do fans dictate the success of artists, or do artists dictate their own success?
Again, just real quick. Are you still banging Kanye? Like,
Oh,
You'll find out in a few minutes, depending
Yes.
on how you answer this question.
I like that because normally you say on the pod and no one knows it's Wilson, like, but now you're here in flesh. Okay,
I've been waiting all day for Kanye to go up.
I don't want to throw things off. I'm just curious
No,
myself.
rock
go
out,
ahead.
rock out, rock out.
You gonna start off with Drake first, or?
No, just go
I want to
with
start
you.
with Kanye. I want to start with Kanye.
Yes.
All right.
So, what do you think?
I mean, Kanye's one of those people, like, you can get into a certain sphere where you're kind of untouchable, but it's also like, what's your compass, right? Like, what does it say? Kanye's willing to switch around and go wherever it goes and still be fine, and that's okay for him. It's not my bag. Like, we made kind of a line. I know I keep talking about state of the culture, but we having all these crazy things happen. We not on, like,
I know.
don't you listen? All right, so anyway, but yeah, like, he's in a rare space, you know what I mean? Like, dude works at Kenny Shoes, like, you might not have it like that, right? Like, you have to be honest with yourself about where you at. When I think about, like, people are still booing him, right? People are still like, yo, we don't rock with him, but he's still, like, fine, you know? And I think, like, he's knowledgeable about that. And it says more about almost his moral compass, because it's like money doesn't matter as much, right? Like, his success doesn't matter as much. He's solidified. And so that's when you get to see who he really is. And then you start wondering, who were you in all those moments when you needed us? Now you don't need us the same. And so, like, who are you? And I think that's the question. When I think about Drake, sorry, did I just are we on Drake? Or
Yeah, no.
Oh no, I mean, unless you want to hear his own thoughts.
Well, I mean, Kanye's for the people.
Wow. Okay, stop.
It's all about humanity.
No. It's so crazy that when I see the people, like, even when I see the dudes in the Jesus King merch, it's never someone that looks valid or vetted. It's always like Connor from Wisconsin. I'm like, all right, bro. Or you know what I thought about was crazy about the Jesus King is there's gonna be somebody out there I'm Bibled up. You know what I mean? There's gonna be someone out there telling me about the word and they ain't even cracked the book, but they like listen, like they bumping in the beats. And then on top of that, like, yo, in the scale of Kanye, like, and again, he's made it A+, like, unreachable for some artists.
Yeah.
This is not A+ work. It's just not. Like,
How you feel, Wilson?
Well, I think that work on this album was in the vein of the genre. You know what I'm saying? He was very respectful to it. He didn't want to outshine the Lord.
oh,
You know what I'm saying? So yo, he told down the music. I said this on the podcast. Music is powerful, right?
I agree.
Right? It can ignite things inside of you, right?
Yes.
So he toned it down. He wants you guys getting all excited and raunchy.
I try.
And you can't name a better Christian now. Name one.